Trans man humiliated by landlord, then buys the entire apartment complex. How will this story turn out? To find out, watch the video to the end. But first, please subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications to get more stories like this. The sound of dripping water echoed through the dimly lit hallway as Logan stepped out of his tiny apartment, carefully locking the door behind him. The rundown complex had seen better days. Or perhaps, it never had. Peeling paint clung desperately to the walls, and the faint smell of mildew lingered in the air. Yet, despite its sorry state, this was home. Logan adjusted the strap of his worn-out backpack and headed toward the staircase. It was an early morning, and he was on his way to the cafe where he worked long shifts to make ends meet. He didn't mind the grind. He had bigger dreams, and every paycheck brought him one step closer to them. Logan, a familiar, raspy voice called from behind. He turned to see Mrs. Thompson, his elderly neighbor, waving him down. "Morning, Mrs. T," he said with a warm smile. "What's up?" "Water's out again," she said, shaking her head. "It's been 2 days now. I tried calling Victor, but you know how that goes." Logan sighed. Victor, the complex's landlord, was infamous for his neglect and hostility. Complaints about broken plumbing, faulty wiring, and other issues went unanswered for weeks, if they were addressed at all. And when he did show up, it was usually to berate tenants or slap them with unfair fines. "I'll give him a call after my shift," Logan offered. "Maybe if he hears it from me, he'll actually do something." Mrs. Thompson's face softened. "You're a good one, Logan. Don't know what we'd do without you." Logan gave her a reassuring nod before continuing on his way. As he stepped outside, the chilly morning air hit his face, and he quickened his pace. He had no idea that today would mark the beginning of a turning point in his life. Later that afternoon, Logan returned to the complex, exhausted but relieved to be home. As he approached the entrance, he spotted a familiar figure standing near the staircase, Victor. The landlord was in his usual uniform, a cheap suit that didn't quite fit, and a sneer that seemed permanently etched onto his face. He was talking to another tenant, a single mother named Maria, and even from a distance, Logan could tell the exchange wasn't pleasant. "Rules are rules, Maria," Victor said loudly, his tone dripping with condescension. "If you can't pay the late fee, maybe you should think about finding somewhere else to live." "Please, Mr. Victor," Maria pleaded, her voice trembling. "I just need a little more time. I have 2 kids and—" Victor raised a hand to silence her. "Not my problem," he snapped. "Rent's due on the 1st, and I'm not running a charity." Logan clenched his fists, anger bubbling in his chest. He couldn't stand the way Victor treated people, but he also knew that speaking up would likely make things worse for Maria. Instead, he waited until Victor walked away before approaching her. "You okay?" Logan asked gently. Maria nodded, though her eyes were red with unshed tears. "I'll figure it out," she said softly. "Thanks, Logan." He watched her retreat into her apartment, his jaw tightening with frustration. Victor's behavior wasn't just unfair, it was cruel. And yet, Logan felt powerless to stop it. The next morning, Logan found himself on the receiving end of Victor's wrath. He was on his way to take out the trash when Victor spotted him in the courtyard. "Hey you!" Victor barked, pointing a stubby finger at Logan. "Come here." Logan hesitated before approaching, bracing himself for whatever nonsense was about to come his way. "What's this?" Victor demanded, holding up a crumpled piece of paper. It was a notice Logan had taped to his door, reminding himself of an upcoming doctor's appointment. "It's just a note," Logan said, confused. "Why?" "Looks trashy," Victor said with a sneer. "I don't want garbage taped to my property." "Take it down." Logan blinked, incredulous. "It's on my door." "How is that?" "Don't talk back to me," Victor interrupted, stepping closer. "I don't care what you think. Do as you're told, or maybe I'll find a reason to evict you. Wouldn't be hard, you know." Logan felt his face flush with anger, but he swallowed the retort on the tip of his tongue. Arguing with Victor would only make things worse. Instead, he nodded tightly and turned to leave. "That's what I thought," Victor muttered under his breath, loud enough for Logan to hear. "Freak." Logan froze in his tracks. The word hung in the air, sharp and cutting. He turned slowly, meeting Victor's gaze with a steady intensity. "Excuse me?" Logan said, his voice calm but firm. "You heard me," Victor said, smirking. "You're not fooling anyone, you know. People like you don't belong here." Logan's chest tightened, and for a moment he struggled to find his voice. But then he straightened his spine and met Victor's gaze head-on. "I pay my rent on time," Logan said, his voice steady. "I follow the rules. I have just as much right to be here as anyone else." Victor let out a derisive laugh. "Sure you do. But don't push your luck, kid." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving Logan standing in the courtyard, his fists clenched at his sides. That evening, Logan sat in his apartment, staring at the ceiling as Victor's words replayed in his mind. Anger simmered beneath the surface, but it was accompanied by something deeper: determination. "I'm done," Logan muttered to himself. "I'm done letting him treat people like this." He pulled out his laptop and began researching. Hours passed as he read about tenants' rights, housing laws, and advocacy groups. He discovered a city program that offered grants and loans for affordable housing projects, designed to help individuals and organizations improve living conditions for underserved communities. The more he read, the more a plan began to take shape in his mind. It was ambitious, maybe even impossible, but for the first time, Logan felt a spark of hope. He wasn't just going to stand up to Victor. He was going to take back control. The next day, Logan shared his idea with Mia, his best friend and confidant. They met at their favorite cafe, where Logan laid out his vision over a cup of black coffee. "I want to buy the complex," he said, his eyes shining with determination. "I want to take it away from Victor and turn it into a place where people actually feel safe." Mia blinked, clearly surprised. "Logan, that's incredible. But are you sure? That's a huge undertaking." "I know," Logan admitted, "but I can't just sit by and watch him treat people like this. I have to do something." Mia reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "Then I'm with you. Whatever you need, I'll help." Logan felt a surge of gratitude. He knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but with Mia by his side, he felt ready to take the first step. Logan and Mia began working tirelessly to put their plan into motion. The first step was understanding exactly what they were up against. Logan spent hours poring over city records, trying to learn everything he could about the apartment complex's ownership and financial situation. What he discovered wasn't surprising. Victor had inherited the property years ago and had done little to maintain it since. The complex was in disrepair, and complaints from tenants were piling up with city officials. "It's worse than I thought," Logan said one evening as he and Mia sat in his apartment, surrounded by stacks of papers and an open laptop. "Victor's been ignoring maintenance requests for years. He's even been fined a few times, but he doesn't care. He just pays the penalty and moves on." "That could work in our favor," Mia said thoughtfully. "If the city sees that he's neglecting the property, they might be more willing to approve your application for funding." Logan nodded, hope flickering in his chest. "That's what I'm counting on. But I still need to figure out how to make a solid case. I can't just tell them I want to buy the complex because Victor's a jerk." "True," Mia said with a smirk. "But you can show them how much better it could be under your management. Affordable housing, proper maintenance, a safe community for tenants. It's all about painting the right picture." Logan smiled, grateful for Mia's optimism. "You always know how to keep me grounded." "Someone has to," she teased. "Now, let's figure out how to turn this mess into an opportunity." Over the next few weeks, Logan's plan began to take shape. He reached out to Mr. Patel, a retired accountant who lived in the complex and had always been kind to Logan. When Logan explained his idea, Mr. Patel immediately offered his help. "This is a bold move, Logan," Mr. Patel said, adjusting his glasses as he reviewed the city's housing program guidelines. "But I think it's exactly what this community needs. I'll help you with the numbers and the paperwork. We'll make sure your proposal is airtight." With Mr. Patel's expertise and Mia's unwavering support, Logan started assembling his application. He included detailed plans for renovating the complex, improving living conditions, and creating a more inclusive and supportive community. He also gathered testimonials from tenants who shared their experiences of living under Victor's rule. "I just want a place where my kids can feel safe," Maria wrote in her letter. Mr. Victor doesn't care about us. We need someone who does. Logan read each letter with a mixture of sadness and determination. He knew their voices deserved to be heard, and he was determined to be the person who would fight for them. While Logan worked on his application, Victor continued his reign of terror. The landlord seemed to take particular pleasure in targeting Logan, issuing fines for the smallest infractions and making snide comments whenever they crossed paths. "Don't think I don't see what you're up to," Victor said one day, cornering Logan in the hallway. "You're not going to outsmart me, kid. People like you don't have what it takes to make it." Logan stared back at him, refusing to let the words sink in. "You'll see," he said calmly. "Things are going to change around here." Victor laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "Sure they are. Keep dreaming." Logan didn't respond. He simply walked away, his resolve stronger than ever. The day finally came when Logan submitted his application to the city's housing program. He had poured his heart and soul into the proposal, and as he handed it over to the program coordinator, he felt a mix of nerves and excitement. "You've put together a strong case," the coordinator said, flipping through the pages. "It's clear you're passionate about this project. We'll review everything and get back to you within a few weeks." "Thank you," Logan said, his voice steady despite the anxiety bubbling beneath the surface. "I really appreciate it." As he left the office, Logan took a deep breath. The waiting would be the hardest part, but he knew he had done everything he could. Now, it was up to the program officials to decide. During the weeks that followed, Logan threw himself into preparing for the possibility of owning the complex. He attended workshops on property management, met with local activists to learn about tenants' rights, and even started drafting renovation plans with Mia and Mr. Patel. "I want to add a community garden," Logan said one evening as they brainstormed in Mia's living room. "Something that brings people together." "I love that idea," Mia said, sketching a rough layout on a notepad. "And maybe a little playground for the kids." "Perfect," Logan said, smiling. "This is going to be so much more than just a place to live. It's going to be a home." Finally, the call came. Logan was in the middle of cleaning his apartment when his phone buzzed, the program coordinator's name flashing on the screen. His heart raced as he answered. "Hello." "Hi, Logan," the coordinator said, her tone warm. "I'm calling with some good news. Your application has been approved." Logan's knees nearly gave out. "Wait, really?" "Really," she said with a laugh. "The city is impressed with your vision and commitment to this project. We're offering you the funding to purchase and renovate the complex." "Congratulations." "Thank you," Logan said, his voice trembling with emotion. "Thank you so much." As he hung up the phone, Logan let out a whoop of joy. He immediately called Mia and Mr. Patel to share the news, their cheers echoing through the phone. "We did it," Logan said, his voice filled with disbelief and excitement. "We're really doing this." The next step was negotiating the purchase of the complex, a process that brought Logan face to face with Victor once more. Armed with funding and legal backing, Logan approached the meeting with confidence. Victor, on the other hand, was caught off guard. He hadn't expected Logan to follow through with his plan, let alone succeed. As they sat across from each other in a sterile conference room, Victor's usual bravado seemed to falter. "You're buying the complex?" Victor said, his voice tinged with disbelief. "Yes," Logan said firmly. "And I've already secured the funding. The deal's on the table. Take it or leave it?" Victor glared at him, but he knew he had no choice. The city had been cracking down on his neglect, and the pressure was mounting. Reluctantly, he signed the paperwork, officially transferring ownership of the complex to Logan. As Logan left the room, the weight of what he had accomplished hit him. He had done it. He had taken back control, not just for himself, but for everyone who had suffered under Victor's rule. Logan stepped out of the conference room and into the crisp afternoon air, clutching the signed papers that made it official. He was now the owner of the apartment complex. It felt surreal. For months, he had dreamed of this moment, and now it was finally here. But there was no time to waste. The real work was just beginning. He headed straight to Mia's place, where she and Mr. Patel were waiting anxiously for an update. As Logan walked in, he held up the papers with a triumphant grin. "It's done," he said, his voice brimming with excitement. The complex is ours. Mia let out a scream of joy, throwing her arms around Logan. I knew you could do it, she said, tears streaming down her face. Mr. Patel smiled warmly, clapping Logan on the shoulder. Congratulations, Logan. This is a monumental achievement. But now the hard part begins. Logan nodded, his excitement tempered by the weight of responsibility. I know, but I'm ready. We're going to turn this place around. The first step was letting the tenants know about the change in ownership. Logan called a meeting in the complex's courtyard, where residents gathered with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. For years, they had endured Victor's neglect and abuse, and many of them weren't sure what to expect from this new chapter. Logan stood on a makeshift platform, looking out at the faces of his neighbors. He saw Maria holding her youngest child, Mrs. Thompson leaning on her cane, and Mr. Patel standing proudly in the front row. Taking a deep breath, Logan began. Thank you all for coming, he said, his voice steady despite the nerves bubbling inside him. As of today, I'm the new owner of this complex. A murmur rippled through the crowd, a mixture of surprise and cautious optimism. I know things haven't been easy here, Logan continued. Victor didn't treat this place, or the people in it, with the respect it deserves. But that ends now. My goal is to make this complex a place where everyone feels safe, valued, and proud to call home. The crowd erupted into applause, and Logan felt a surge of relief. He had been worried about how the tenants would react, but their support gave him the confidence to keep going. Over the next few months, we're going to start making improvements, he said. That means fixing the plumbing, repairing the electrical systems, and addressing all the issues that have been ignored for far too long. And we're not stopping there. We're also planning to create a community garden, a playground for the kids, and a resource center where tenants can access support and services. Maria raised her hand, her voice trembling with emotion. Does this mean no more unfair fines? No more threats of eviction? Logan smiled warmly. That's exactly what it means. We're starting fresh. Everyone here deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. The crowd broke into cheers, and Logan felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. This was why he had fought so hard, for these people, for this community. With the support of the tenants secured, Logan dove headfirst into the renovation process. He worked closely with contractors, architects, and volunteers to create a plan that prioritized the most urgent repairs while also laying the groundwork for long-term improvements. It was a massive undertaking, but Logan approached it with the same determination that had carried him this far. Mia and Mr. Patel were by his side every step of the way. Mia took charge of organizing community events to keep the tenants engaged and informed, while Mr. Patel managed the complex's finances with meticulous care. Every dollar counts, Mr. Patel said one afternoon as they reviewed the budget. But if we allocate resources wisely, we can accomplish everything on our list. Logan nodded, his resolve unwavering. Let's make it happen. As the weeks turned into months, the transformation of the complex began to take shape. The once crumbling walls were repainted in vibrant colors, and the plumbing and electrical systems were finally brought up to code. The courtyard, once overgrown with weeds, was cleared and prepped for the community garden. But the most rewarding part for Logan was seeing the impact these changes had on the tenants. Maria's children played happily in the newly installed playground, their laughter echoing through the courtyard. Mrs. Thompson, who had struggled to navigate the building's steep stairs, was overjoyed when an elevator was added. "Thank you, Logan," she said one day, tears in her eyes. "You've given us more than a home. You've given us hope." Logan felt his throat tighten with emotion. "That means everything to me, Mrs. T. But this is just the beginning." Despite the progress, there were still challenges to overcome. Some of the tenants were resistant to change, wary of promises that sounded too good to be true. And of course, there was Victor. Though he no longer owned the complex, Victor hadn't disappeared entirely. He made it a point to show up uninvited, skulking around the property and making snide comments whenever he saw Logan. "Enjoy it while it lasts," Victor sneered one day as Logan supervised a delivery of construction materials. "You'll screw this up eventually. People like you always do." Logan didn't take the bait. Instead, he looked Victor in the eye and said calmly, You can say whatever you want, but I'm not going anywhere. This is my home now, and I'm going to make it better than you ever could." Victor scoffed, but Logan could see the frustration in his eyes. For the first time, Victor was powerless, and he hated it. As the renovations neared completion, Logan and his team began planning a grand reopening event to celebrate the rebirth of the complex. The tenants were eager to participate, offering to help with decorations, food, and entertainment. "This is our chance to show the world what we've built together," Logan said during a planning meeting. "Let's make it a day to remember." The event was scheduled for a sunny Saturday afternoon, and as the day approached, excitement buzzed through the complex. Logan couldn't wait to see it all come together. The day of the grand reopening arrived, and the apartment complex was nearly unrecognizable. The walls were freshly painted in bright, inviting colors, and the courtyard had been transformed into a vibrant community space. Rows of flowers lined the newly constructed garden beds, and the playground sparkled under the morning sun. Banners reading "Welcome Home" hung above the entrance, and the air buzzed with excitement as tenants and visitors prepared for the celebration. Logan stood at the center of the courtyard, overseeing the final preparations. He adjusted a banner that had come loose and stepped back to admire the scene. This was more than just a building. It was a symbol of resilience, community, and hope. "You look proud," Mia said, walking up beside him. Logan smiled. "I am. This isn't just about me, it's about all of us. We did this together. And it shows," Mia said, her voice filled with admiration. "You've turned this place into something amazing." Before Logan could respond, Mr. Patel approached, holding a clipboard. "Everything's on schedule," he said. "The food vendors are setting up, the band is ready, and the tenants are already starting to arrive." "Perfect," Logan said, his excitement growing. "Let's make this a day to remember." As the celebration began, the courtyard filled with tenants, their families, and members of the local community. Food stalls offered an array of dishes, from tacos to barbecue, while the live band played upbeat tunes that got everyone moving. Children laughed and played on the playground, their joy infectious. Logan moved through the crowd, greeting people and thanking them for their support. Everywhere he turned, he saw smiles and laughter. It was a stark contrast to the tense, somber atmosphere that had once defined the complex. "Logan," Maria called, waving him over. She stood near the community garden, her children gathered around her. "This place is incredible. Thank you for everything." "It's not just me," Logan said, shaking his head. "Everyone here played a part in making this happen." "But you started it," Maria said, her voice firm. "You believed in us when no one else did. That means more than you'll ever know." Logan felt a lump rise in his throat. "Thank you, Maria. That means a lot." As the afternoon wore on, Logan took the stage for a short speech. The crowd gathered around, their attention focused on him as he stood in front of the microphone. "Thank you all for being here today," Logan began, his voice steady but emotional. "This celebration isn't just about the renovations or the new amenities. It's about the people who make this community what it is." He paused, scanning the faces in the crowd. "When I first came up with the idea to buy this complex, I wasn't sure if it would work. I knew it would take a lot of effort, and I knew there would be challenges. But I also knew that this place, our home, deserved better. And so did all of you." The crowd erupted into applause, and Logan took a moment to compose himself before continuing. "This is just the beginning. Together, we're going to keep building a community that's safe, supportive, and inclusive. A place where everyone feels like they belong." He stepped back from the microphone as the crowd cheered, their energy filling the courtyard. Logan looked out at the sea of faces and felt a deep sense of fulfillment. This was what he had fought for. As the celebration continued, Logan found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought him here. It hadn't been easy. There had been setbacks, doubts, and moments of frustration. But every challenge had only made him stronger, more determined to succeed. "Penny for your thoughts?" Mia said, appearing at his side with 2 cups of lemonade. Logan smiled, taking one of the cups. "Just thinking about how far we've come. It still feels surreal." "You earned it," Mia said. "Every bit of it. And you've inspired so many people along the way." Logan nodded, his gaze sweeping across the courtyard. It's not just about me. This is about all of us. This community, these people. They deserve this. And they know that, Mia said. You've given them something Victor never could, hope. Logan chuckled. Victor. I almost forgot about him. Mia raised an eyebrow. Think he's still bitter? Probably, Logan said with a shrug. But honestly, I don't care. He doesn't matter anymore. Just as the thought crossed Logan's mind, he noticed a familiar figure lurking at the edge of the crowd. It was Victor, standing near the entrance with his arms crossed and a scowl on his face. He looked out of place amidst the cheerful atmosphere, his presence a stark reminder of the past. Logan debated whether to approach him but decided against it. This was a day of celebration, not confrontation. Besides, Victor's presence was a testament to Logan's success. He had won, and there was nothing Victor could do to change that. But Victor had other plans. As the celebration reached its peak, he made his way toward the stage, drawing confused glances from the crowd. Logan watched warily as Victor grabbed the microphone, his face twisted with disdain. This is all a joke, Victor sneered, his voice cutting through the music. You think this changes anything? You think you're better than me because you slapped some paint on these walls? The crowd fell silent, their joy replaced by tension. Logan stepped forward, his heart pounding, but Victor wasn't finished. This place will never be more than what it is. A dump, Victor continued, his voice dripping with venom. And you're just a kid playing pretend? Logan's fists clenched, but he forced himself to stay calm. He took a deep breath and approached the stage, his head held high. Enough, Logan said, his voice firm but measured. He stepped onto the stage, standing face to face with Victor. You don't get to do this. Not anymore. Victor laughed bitterly. And what are you going to do about it? I'm going to show you that you're wrong, Logan said, his voice steady despite the fire in his eyes. This place isn't a dump. It's a home. And these people aren't just tenants, they're a community. Something you never understood. The crowd erupted into applause, their support drowning out Victor's protests. Logan turned to them, his voice rising above the noise. This is our day, he said. And no one, not even Victor, can take that away from us. Victor scowled but realized he was outmatched. He dropped the microphone and stormed off, disappearing into the crowd. Logan watched him go, his chest heaving with emotion. You okay? Mia asked, appearing at his side. Logan nodded, a small smile breaking through. Yeah, I'm okay. He's not worth it? Mia grinned. Damn right he's not. As the sun set and the celebration wound down, Logan found himself surrounded by tenants, their gratitude pouring out in waves. Maria hugged him tightly, tears streaming down her face. Mrs. Thompson thanked him for giving her a reason to smile again. Even the children ran up to him, their laughter filling the air. Logan looked around, his heart full. This was why he had fought so hard. Not for recognition or revenge, but for these moments, for the joy, the connection, the sense of belonging. Thank you, Logan, Maria said, her voice thick with emotion. You've given us so much more than a home. You've given us a family. Logan's throat tightened, and he blinked back tears. You're welcome. And thank you for believing in me. As the last of the tenants drifted off to their apartments, Logan stood in the courtyard, taking it all in. The lights twinkled above him, the flowers swayed gently in the evening breeze, and the laughter of children echoed faintly in the distance. Mia walked up beside him, her hands in her pockets. What now? Logan smiled, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Now we keep going. This is just the beginning. And with that, he turned and walked toward his apartment, ready to face whatever the future held. The following morning, Logan woke up to the sound of birds chirping outside his window, a stark contrast to the usual cacophony of the complex's old pipes groaning and neighbors arguing in frustration. The transformation of the complex was more than physical. It had brought a sense of peace and harmony that Logan had always dreamed of but never thought possible. As he sipped his morning coffee, his phone buzzed with messages from tenants and community members expressing their gratitude for the event. One particularly heartwarming message came from Maria, who shared a photo of her kids playing in the new playground. You've given my kids a place to feel safe and happy, the message read. We'll never forget what you've done for us." Logan smiled, his heart swelling with pride. But there was little time to bask in the success of the grand reopening. There was still plenty of work to be done. The complex was running smoothly, but Logan knew that maintaining the momentum would require consistent effort and dedication. Logan's first priority was to establish a tenants' council. He believed that the best way to ensure the community's continued success was to give residents a voice in the decision-making process. He called a meeting in the community center, and to his delight, nearly every tenant showed up. "Thank you all for coming," Logan began, standing at the front of the room. "This council is about more than just managing the complex. It's about making sure everyone here feels heard and valued." He explained how the council would work, with representatives from different parts of the complex meeting regularly to discuss issues, share ideas, and make decisions as a group. The tenants were enthusiastic, eager to take an active role in shaping their community. "I think this is a great idea," Mrs. Thompson said, her voice strong despite her frail appearance. "We've been through so much, but now we have the chance to make this place truly ours." Maria nodded in agreement. "Count me in. I want to help make this a place where my kids can grow up proud." By the end of the meeting, the council had been formed, with Maria, Mrs. Thompson, and several other tenants volunteering to serve as representatives. Logan left the meeting feeling energized and optimistic. This was exactly what he had envisioned, a community working together to create something better. As the weeks went on, the Tenants' Council proved to be a game changer. The representatives worked closely with Logan to address concerns and implement new initiatives, from organizing community cleanup days to planning social events. The complex buzzed with activity, and the sense of unity grew stronger with each passing day. One of the council's first major projects was the community garden. Under Maria's leadership, the garden quickly became a focal point of the complex. Tenants of all ages came together to plant flowers, vegetables, and herbs, transforming the once neglected courtyard into a lush oasis. Logan often found himself spending evenings in the garden, chatting with tenants as they tended to their plots. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Maria approached him with a shy smile. "You've created something really special here," she said, gesturing to the garden. "It feels like home again." Logan shook his head. "We created this. All of us." Maria laughed softly. "You're too humble, Logan. But I guess that's part of what makes you such a great leader." Logan felt a blush creep up his cheeks. "Thanks, Maria. That means a lot." As the complex continued to thrive, word of its transformation began to spread. Local media outlets picked up the story, highlighting Logan's journey and the incredible changes he had spearheaded. Articles described the complex as a beacon of hope and praised Logan for his leadership and vision. One day, Logan received a call from a local journalist who wanted to feature the complex in a documentary about community revitalization. At first, Logan hesitated. He wasn't comfortable being in the spotlight, but Mia convinced him to do it. "This is bigger than you," she said. "Your story could inspire so many people to take action in their own communities." Logan agreed, and over the next few weeks, a small film crew visited the complex, interviewing tenants, council members, and Logan himself. The documentary captured the essence of the community's transformation, from the struggles they had faced under Victor's rule to the vibrant, thriving space they had built together. When the documentary aired, it received overwhelming praise. Logan was inundated with messages from people across the city, and even beyond, who were inspired by his story. Other landlords and community leaders reached out, asking for advice on how to replicate the success of the complex. "It's incredible," Mia said one evening as they reviewed the messages. "You're not just changing this complex, you're changing the way people think about community." Logan nodded, his heart full. "That's all I've ever wanted." Despite the growing recognition, Logan remained focused on the day-to-day work of managing the complex. He made it a point to check in with tenants regularly, ensuring their needs were being met and addressing any issues that arose. He also continued to meet with the Tenants' Council, working together to plan new initiatives and improvements. One of the council's most ambitious projects was a resource center, which they named the Hub. Located in one of the complex's unused units, The hub offered a range of services, from job training and financial literacy workshops to a lending library and free Wi-Fi. The center quickly became a lifeline for tenants, empowering them to build better lives for themselves and their families. "This is exactly what we needed," Maria said during the grand opening of the hub. "Thank you, Logan. You've changed everything." Logan smiled, his chest swelling with pride. "We did this together, and we're just getting started." As the complex continued to flourish, Logan found himself reflecting on how far he had come. The boy who had once felt powerless and unseen was now a respected leader, someone who had not only transformed his own life but also the lives of those around him. One evening, as Logan sat in the garden, watching the sun set over the complex, Mia joined him, carrying 2 cups of tea. "Penny for your thoughts?" she asked, handing him a cup. Logan smiled, taking a sip. "Just thinking about how different things are now. It still feels surreal sometimes." "You've done something incredible here," Mia said, her voice filled with admiration. "You should be proud." "I am," Logan admitted. "But it's not just about me. This is about everyone who believed in this place, who believed in me. And they believe in you because you gave them a reason to," Mia said. "You showed them what's possible when you refused to give up." Logan nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "I guess I did." The following week, Logan received an unexpected visitor. It was Victor, standing awkwardly at the edge of the courtyard, his usual bravado replaced by something that looked suspiciously like regret. Logan approached him cautiously, unsure of what to expect. "Victor," he said evenly. "What are you doing here?" Victor shifted uncomfortably, avoiding Logan's gaze. "I heard about everything you've done here," he said. I wanted to say I was wrong." Logan blinked, caught off guard. "Excuse me?" "I was wrong about you," Victor repeated, his voice quiet. "About all of this. I didn't think you'd pull it off, but you did. I'm sorry. For the way I treated you." Logan stared at him for a long moment, his emotions a jumble of disbelief, anger, and, unexpectedly, pity. Victor looked smaller somehow, his arrogance replaced by a hollow vulnerability. "Thank you for saying that," Logan said finally. "But an apology doesn't erase what you did to this community." "I know," Victor said, his shoulders sagging. "I just wanted you to know." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving Logan standing in the courtyard. For a moment, Logan considered calling after him, but he decided against it. Victor's apology was a step, but it didn't change the past or the future. Logan turned back toward the complex, his resolve stronger than ever. He wasn't looking back. The future was brighter than ever, and he was ready to embrace it. The next morning, Logan woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. Victor's unexpected apology lingered in his mind, but he refused to dwell on it. The work at the complex wasn't finished, and his focus remained on ensuring the community continued to thrive. One of Logan's first tasks that day was to meet with the Tenants' Council. They gathered in the community center, the room buzzing with ideas and energy. Maria, who had become the unofficial spokesperson of the council, took the lead. "We've made so much progress already," she said, her voice steady and confident. "But there's still more we can do. I think it's time to focus on sustainability, finding ways to make the complex more environmentally friendly." Logan nodded, impressed. "I like that idea. What do you have in mind?" Maria glanced at the other council members, who nodded encouragingly. "We were thinking about starting a composting program and maybe installing solar panels. It would save money in the long run and help the environment." "That's a fantastic idea," Logan said. "Let's start looking into grants and partnerships that could help us fund it." Mr. Patel chimed in. "I can help with the numbers. If we plan it right, the cost of installation could be offset by the energy savings within a few years." The council spent the rest of the meeting brainstorming and assigning tasks. Logan couldn't help but feel a surge of pride as he watched the group work together. This was exactly what he had envisioned, a community taking ownership of its future. Later that week, Logan met with a local environmental nonprofit to discuss the possibility of installing solar panels at the complex. The organization was enthusiastic about the idea and offered to help with funding and logistics. "This could be a model for other affordable housing communities," the nonprofit director said. You're doing something truly groundbreaking here, Logan. Logan smiled, humbled by the praise. It's not just me. It's the whole community. We're in this together. The partnership was finalized, and within weeks, the solar panel project was underway. Contractors worked alongside tenants to install the panels, turning the complex into a shining example of sustainable living. The composting program followed shortly after, with residents enthusiastically participating and even competing to see who could contribute the most. As the complex continued to evolve, Logan began to think about the future. The success of the community had exceeded his wildest expectations, and he wondered how he could expand its impact even further. One evening, as he sat in the garden with Mia, he shared his thoughts. "I've been thinking about starting a foundation," he said, his voice thoughtful. "Something that could help other communities like ours. There are so many people out there who need support, and I want to do more." Mia's eyes lit up. "That's an amazing idea, Logan. You've already proven that change is possible. A foundation could help bring that change to so many more people." Logan nodded, feeling a spark of excitement. "I'll need your help though. This is going to be a big undertaking." "Always," Mia said without hesitation. "You know I'm with you every step of the way." The Logan Foundation launched 6 months later, its mission to empower underserved communities through affordable housing, education, and sustainable development. The foundation's first project was a partnership with another neglected apartment complex on the other side of the city, replicating the success of Logan's own community. Logan poured his heart and soul into the foundation, balancing its demands with his ongoing responsibilities at the complex. It was exhausting, but he thrived on the challenge. Every new project, every success story, reminded him why he had started this journey in the first place. One day, as Logan reviewed plans for the foundation's latest project, he received a call from a tenant at his original complex. "Logan, you need to come to the community center," the tenant said, her voice filled with urgency. "It's important." Logan's heart skipped a beat. "I'll be right there." When he arrived, he found the community center filled with tenants. A banner hung across the front of the room that read, "Thank you, Logan." The tenants cheered as he walked in, their faces glowing with gratitude. "What's all this?" Logan asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. Maria stepped forward, holding a plaque. "This is for you," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "For everything you've done for us. You've changed our lives, Logan, and we wanted to make sure you know how much we appreciate you." Logan took the plaque, his hands shaking. It was engraved with the words, "To Logan, a true leader, a true friend. Thank you for believing in us." Tears filled his eyes as he looked out at the crowd. "Thank you," he said, his voice breaking. "I couldn't have done any of this without all of you. This community is what it is because of the people in it." The room erupted into applause, and Logan felt a profound sense of fulfillment. This was more than recognition. It was a testament to the power of resilience, unity, and hope. That night, Logan sat on his balcony, looking out at the complex. The lights from the solar panels illuminated the courtyard, where children played and neighbors chatted. It was a scene of peace and joy, a stark contrast to the way things had been under Victor's rule. Mia joined him, handing him a cup of tea. "Penny for your thoughts?" she asked with a smile. Logan chuckled. "You always know when I'm in my head." "It's a gift," Mia said, settling into the chair next to him. "So, what's on your mind?" "Just thinking about how far we've come," Logan said. "This place, it's more than I ever could have imagined." "You made it happen," Mia said. "You believed in this community and you fought for it. That's what makes you special." Logan shook his head. "It wasn't just me. It was everyone. Maria, Mrs. Thompson, Mr. Patel. We did this together. And that's why it worked," Mia said. "Because you brought people together." Logan smiled, his heart full. "I guess we did, didn't we?" As the stars twinkled above them, Logan felt a deep sense of peace. The journey had been long and difficult, but it had been worth every step. He had found his purpose, and he knew that the best was yet to come.